Hi YouTube, I'm Jean. I am a Malaysian lawyer, practicing lawyer. I'm a humanitarian and I'm also a business owner.
Hello, my name is Oliver and I'm a trans guy who makes videos about LGBTQIA+ people where they get to talk about anything that they want that somehow relates to them being queer. I'm currently traveling through Malaysia and in the capital Kuala Lumpur, I met up with Jean.
I'm Jean. I am a lawyer by profession. I'm a practicing lawyer. I also run an NGO to do diversity, equity and inclusion topics, I'm also a legal researcher, I'm also a public speaker, I'm also a trainer, I'm also a teacher. 8 years ago, I gave up drinking, smoking, meat, I'm a vegetarian, I'm an animal lover, I have quite a number of fur babies, and I'm happily married. I am a trans man, a female to male. Academically and spiritually, I also identify as a two-spirit person. So what that means is, no, I'm not non-binary, I'm definitely a man, but it's just that when it comes to my work, I tend to work with my dual energies, because I believe everyone has masculine and feminine sides, or that energy, some is more masculine, some is male, even though they are male or female. So I tend to work with my both energies to make sure that I deliver the maximum performance, for honestly, I think the benefit of what I'm supposed to do, as for client or for community or for work,
Even though he didn't have words for it, Jean has known that he's trans since he was a kid.
My first recollection of my trans journey was when I was about 5. Back then, in the day, in the 80s, Saturday mornings are like cartoon, right? And then there was this cartoon, it's called He-Man. So this guy with orange hair, Caucasian. I never forget it because I remember looking at him, I would think, that's who I want to be when I grow up. And although he had later on a princess, She-Ra, female superhero, I just knew who I identified with from that age already. And I knew that I would have romantic feelings for She-Ra, but I would identify with He-Man.
And he was taught that this was wrong.
And because I was raised Catholic, I did pick up only later that what I was feeling, it felt like as if it was wrong, when it was the most natural feeling in the world to me, right? And then of course, my journey then took on quite a dark journey, because I was actually abused, when I was 7 years old, sexually abused. And it took me about 30 years, because apparently it's called buried memory, so I forgot all about it. But it changed me. Like later on, because therapy, I found out it changed me as a person. And unfortunately, at 8, I started having memories where I was depressed. And so I would eat to compensate that depression. Like this took me a lot of therapy to find out this story. So I would eat and I grew fat, and then my whole school life was filled with depression and sorrow and misery. Because I would be lonely, I would have no friends to eat lunch with, and then developing feelings for girls, when I started hitting puberty, that did not help. It kind of took about 9-10 years of my life, and a lot of people say, you're so confident, right? Like when they see me today, and I'm like, but do you know there's like, I had this root, and nobody can believe it.
After having finished school, he started studying law.
I decided I wanted to apply overseas to study and read law. Like it turned into a blessing, because law was not my choice. It was my dad's choice of a profession for me. And it turned into a blessing because I fell in love with my profession,
And around that time was when he started exploring his sexuality.
So it took me about 3 years before I actually started investigating this LGBT thing. And then at that time I thought it was just being a lesbian. I thought. So unfortunately, I put my parents through the pain of coming out. One of my fondest memories about the first coming out is my dad hugging me at night when I was crying, and he said, I love you. Even though we had like, fight and everything, right? Yeah, and then I worked overseas for a while, and they offered free counseling. It's part of the insurance, right? So that's why I was told, oh, I've got some problems, mental health problems. And self-harming was an exhibit of it, right? I lost my job in 2008 to the recession, the credit bubble. Then when I started practicing here, I felt very displaced, because I've been over there for so long, and I felt like I found myself. I didn't know how I would fit in here, and then there's all this anti-LGBT treatment, but I knew that was not really Malaysia. I knew my Malaysia was kinder because I grew up with a really beautiful Malaysia. My family is mixed. My father's ethnicity is mixed. It's called Peranakan, right? Or Baba Nonya. So I grew up with this diversity and love and everything, right? I couldn't align what I grew up with and the love and all the discrimination.
Then came a really difficult period of his life where he tried to commit suicide, but luckily he failed.
I always tell myself this joke like, I sucked at dying. Let's see if I can do a better job at living, try and live, right? So then I realized, first thing I need to do to start to live is to come out. I need to say yes to myself. And that's when I had to go for therapy to find the courage to say yes to my parents. My dad just passed end of January, and I thank God repeatedly. He was the first person I said, I am a trans person. I wrote him this 3-4 page letter with all my sweat and tears and all my fears, right? And the funny thing was, it shouldn't have been 3-4 pages, but all I wanted to say to him is, I hope you love me as I am. I hope you take me as your child. I'm so proud of myself that I wrote to him, my mother first, because they are the hardest audience. And I really put them through the first coming out. So I was really afraid I would break their hearts. And the funny thing is that even though you have to do it for yourself, but whatever said and done, you can't take away a child's love for their parents. And I knew that if I can do it with them, I couldn't care about the whole world, and the whole world would follow suit. So this was before I took any medicine, any hormone replacement therapy, come out to people. I just wanted that's like my first mountain, and my first love letter to myself is to my parents. Because I feel that if something happened, I will regret that they found out from the world and that they felt I didn't love them. So even though it will hurt. So he wrote back to me an email. He got it in the post. He wrote back an email, and it was not very long, but he said basically to the fact that he loves me. Although he can't agree with me, I was to understand he comes from a different era. Like he could never accept it, probably never accept it. And until the day he died, it wasn't like natural for him to call me his son. But he did everything else that he could within his capacity to show me he loved me for who I am. So we never had that father-son acknowledgement, like word for word, but he did acknowledge to people when it was possible that I'm his son, and he did many times correct himself, try to correct himself at least, that I'm Jean, not Jen, his daughter.
And when he had told his family, it was time for his job.
And then when I was done with them, I went to the bar council, and I have a beautiful, beautiful mentor of a senior lawyer, Andrew. Andrew helped me, advised me, and that's when I went to the bar council. I went all the way to the top, to the president, and with witnesses. I still remember exactly what I said. I said, I would like to practice in peace. I'm already scaring female lawyers in the court toilets. I haven't even taken any medicine. Imagine when I start transforming, you're gonna have complaints, And all I want to do is I want to do my job. I just want to practice in peace. And the president, then Stephen, he said, yeah, you have our support. You should be able to have that peace of mind to do your work. And I say, yeah, I just want to serve my clients well. I want to show up as a lawyer.
It has become important for Dean to be a role model for others.
Because somebody reminded me the other day that I am the first lawyer to transition in Malaysia. And I'm like, oh, yo-ho. And I was like, wow, that's a big thing. It just blew my mind, right? And I joke also, I'm the loneliest lawyer of my kind, right? I'm like the only alien around. But I have no regrets because I know where I came from. And in terms of being a lawyer, I didn't know I would fall in love with my profession. I didn't know I would fall in love with my community. I didn't know I'd become so protective of the license I carry. I didn't know I could mix humanity with legal and do myself, be me. Like most of all, I didn't know I could be me so well. I didn't know I could succeed as myself. And then be able to show up for others, whether it's my clients or the voiceless. I'm doing this because I don't want another little girl or little boy who looks like me one day have no one like I did. I want to see that she or he has someone, or they. I want them to be in my country to be able to see that hope. Because I was given the hope by people who didn't even look like me. So I feel like it's not an LGBT thing. It's a love thing.
Jean thinks that people look at what you do rather than what you say.
I always believe, and I teach my staff and my students this, you can shout to the world how great you are, your colors, everything. But people want to see what are you delivering. And as an LGBT, I've been given this gift to create that story where I can contribute. Because others, I have no control. I have no control over people who will denounce me and who will ostracize me or who will punish me or say that I'm whatever. I have no control over that channel. But I have control over my story and what I want to tell people. Like for example, my firm, our slogan is heart-based lawyers. And I took that from the inspiration of 3 great lawyers: Abraham Lincoln, Mahatma Gandhi, and Nelson Mandela. And I'm very clear about the vision ahead. Not for me only, but for what we should be as servants of the law. Justice does not need to be by the sword. Justice can be by flowers, can be by words, can be by holding hands. But how are you telling the story?
With all his knowledge about the law, Jean is now teaching other people about their legal rights.
And I hold a lot of teachings, with students, with LGBTs, non-LGBTs, because I feel everyone has the right to be educated about what is possible, what is not possible, what is permissible, and also more importantly, how to use it to navigate their lives. Well, a lot of people are saying that LGBTs in Malaysia have no rights. That's nonsense. LGBTs are humans, and I think the conversation needs to go back to that simplicity. I don't know about other people, but to me, I just want a right to peace, right? To live a dignified life. To be able to serve my clients, to be able to serve my parents, to be responsible. But at the same time, I have a right to be successful. I have a right to be stable. And I have a right to honor myself and my life. I have that birthright. And I have the birthright to be strong. And that's the message I want all my students to take with me.
To finish up, this is a message that Jean wants you as a queer person to take away from this video.
I would love it if LGBT people take away the message of hope. We are all light at the end of the day. I know that sounds very spiritual, but okay I try another way of saying it, okay? We are all here, whether small, big, whatever color, we are all here with a purpose. The purpose can be I was born to be a mother, I was born to take care of my father, I was born to clean up the rivers. We all have roles to play. And to me, if you can find beauty in that, you can find beauty in yourself, you will know how to find beauty in all the small little things in life that makes it more bearable. And I want that hope for all LGBTs. They can, if they want to. But it's not for me to tell you, it's for them to decide, for all of you to decide, because I can't tell you how much I've been through. Everyone has a story, but I know I've been through quite a lot. And I keep seeing hope each time I fall and each time it gets dark. I just hang on to that light or that silver of hope. But it starts with how my mind works, and that took a very long time.
If you enjoyed watching that video, please like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. I really appreciate you showing your love in that way. If you also want to support the channel financially, that's possible via Patreon, but really no pressure. See you next time.